All right, everyone. Welcome back to the RedBeard Outdoors podcast. I've got an amazing guest today. His name's Brandon Waddell. Did I pronounce that right?
You did. You nailed it.
Perfect. Because I always mess names up. I'm terrible with names. I'll remember your face forever, but I'm terrible with names. Anyway, I've got Brandon Waddell here. He is the founder of Mountain Archery Fest, which is an awesome opportunity for people to get out and enjoy the outdoors, shoot your bows, bring your family. There's even camping as part of it. There's a whole bunch of stuff that we're going to get into today, guys. But Brandon has put on a great event for multiple years now. How many years have you guys been doing Mountain Archery Fest?
We're entering our 5th year. So,
wow. Okay.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So for 5 years now, well, going into 5 years, last year was my first year attending it. It's super family friendly, highly recommended. There's multiple throughout the country. And again, we'll get into all that here shortly. But Brandon, who are you in a nutshell for the listeners?
Well, I'm a business owner. I'm a father and husband, a man of faith, and just in general, just an all-around American dude, I guess is the best way to put it.
I like it. And that's, it's something that I really appreciate about you. You're a hard worker. You've got the entrepreneur spirit. Obviously, you take your passions of archery, fitness, the outdoors. You've put it into an event. You saw, again, I love, and people that have been following the podcast for a while know this when I have guests on, or even when I talk about gear items, when you find a gap in the market, or something that you find as a problem. And I love the people that are behind the scenes that find those solutions to the problem. So you did that with Mountain Archery Fest. So kind of give us a breakdown for those that are listening, maybe don't know much about it. They're familiar with other 3D shoots. What is Mountain Archery Fest?
Mountain Archery Fest is what I like to consider a big 3D archery shoot that travels around the country. But what it encompasses is the special part. For me, I saw a gap in the industry and in these large 3D shoots that weren't as receptive to families in a whole, and even more specifically, women and children. And so, you look at some other large 3D events around the country, that I've been to, and it just didn't encompass the same values that I felt that needed to be a part of archery and a part of an event of that size. So for me, I set out with the goal of creating MAF to support the individual archer of all abilities, ages, and disciplines, and give them a safe and comfortable place to come and learn and explore the sport of archery at their pace and at their desire, and but yet on a grand scale, where it can be a family event, a full 3D vacation, if you will. And to do that, I encompassed all those values. Me and my family started this event. And there's a lot of underlying things within that, like bringing your children into a business of this caliber, allowing them to succeed and fail within certain places that you put them based on their strengths and their abilities. And it gives them, a tremendous growth. There's so many little nuances that come out of MAF, but, MAF was born in a sense of just, I went to these other shoots and it was like, there were no women and children there. And I had left, my wife and children at home, and I didn't feel that some of these events suited their abilities and their desires, to bring some of them out. They may have risen to the occasion and they may have done very well. But some of them may have laid some daunting, lack of encouragement or success to where they would have hung their bow up, so. And then, of course, some of these larger events, they sell out. They sell out rather quickly, right? And so, obviously, there was a gap there where there's some more space in this industry for that sort of thing. And then, I just wanted to have a much different approach to it than others had accomplished.
I love it. I love it. It's very true. You go to Total Archery Challenges, or there's a couple other ones out there as well, and it's not as family friendly. It's very, you go hang out with the boys, pretty much.
Right.
That's really what it is, and it's fun. But when I went to Mountain Archery Fest for the first time this last year, it was way different. And even my wife said, she laughed because I think she realized that people recognized me, because people were going up to her and be like, "Oh, are you RedBeard's wife? Are you Mrs. RedBeard?" And she was like, "Oh man," like, but at the same time, she really felt the family vibe, because there was a bunch of games for the kids. It was open. It was, there's campgrounds and stuff. We didn't take advantage of the camping there, but that's something that I feel like a lot of people don't recognize as well, is that you're adamant that you need to have a venue that will allow for camping so that the family can get involved. There's some other cool things at the practice range that the kids can get involved in. Just my kids had a blast. So even after I went and shot with the guys, I came back, my family, I told them when we were coming down the mountain so they could meet me up there. And we just had a blast all evening, hanging out, going to the Pope and Young dinner, things like that. So it was a lot of fun. And so for anyone out there that is looking to maybe not take time away from the family, there's so many other things that do take time away from the family throughout the year, especially if you're a hunter. Mountain Archery Fest is definitely a great event for that reason. You can get your kids in there, get them involved. And even if they're beginning at shooting, there's events as well that you guys have that the kids can get involved in as well. So I think that's really awesome. I really like that.
Yeah, that's camping is a extremely important piece to the financial puzzle for families as well. To come to one of these events as a family is still not going to be the cheapest thing you could go do as a family, right? But when you think about the all-encompassing aspect of being outdoors, shooting your bows, growing together within the individual challenges that you face as an archer, and then offering stuff within the circle of our family in Vendor Village, right? I look at every one of our sponsors and vendors that come to Mountain Archery Fest as a part of our extended part of our family, if you will. And so, we take a lot of pride in creating that circling the wagons effect in Vendor Village, so that, your kids can be running amok. They're in the group. They've got opportunities to go do things with or without their parents, because those are important things for children to grow and to be able to build that social acceptance as well. And so, we definitely, I definitely concentrated on, when I look at my life, I look at my family, I look at my passions within archery, I look at, the challenges, the things I want to accomplish, the things I failed at, the things I've succeeded at, in archery and hunting, even as a father. I just try to look at my event, and I try to utilize that platform to be an extension of myself, and what I feel is important things for us to remember and recognize within our families and within ourselves. So, it's, I could get all deep on how a lot of that is, but that's kind of the gist of the importance of MAF for each one of you listening, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And it really is it's a unique experience. And so there's so many different venues. I know one of your newer ones is Georgia, right?
Yeah, we are. We're heading to Georgia. That's going to be our first event. We're actually 5 weeks from rollout on that, heading out there. So a little earlier season for us this year by about 5 weeks. And that's really cool, challenging, but exciting all the same. And so, yeah, we added this beautiful place. It's called Kingston Downs in Rome, Georgia. A beautiful old, I wouldn't call it old, but old horse racing facility, so to speak. I mean, they got a pretty cool grass track there and things of that nature, but it's a beautiful Gosh, I can't remember what it is total. I think I want to say around 5,000 acres of land there. And it's got some great topography and a river going through it, and some awesome amenities on site. And so, when we found this place, it really kind of spoke to us. It's ran by another family. It has stayed within the family, and and they're pretty receptive to what we're doing. And that's always something. Finding new venues is difficult. We're not always politically accepted. And so, we have to pick through and choose places that, that my family can be safe, and same with yours, Jonathan. Right. And also be accepted to the level of just being who we are genuinely. Right. As hunters and as archers. And, a lot of people, they just look at archery and they just think hunting. But the unfortunate part is archery is an Olympic sport. It is a world-renowned sport. It comes with a pretty high level of credit, in my opinion. If it's an Olympic sport, then I think it is, a little higher on the tier of respect. Finding Kingston Downs was a blessing for sure. I've been looking pretty hard down in that area for couple years, man. And just hitting roadblock after roadblock. And then finally it came about. And I guess, and really it came about in the right timing. I was pushing to make these moves going east, a couple of years ago. But obviously between, the pandemic and everything else coming along, it was like a lot of that kind of stuff kind of got backburnered just a little bit. But I kept steadfast and found a good spot. And then after that, we're heading up to a place in Carbondale, Pennsylvania, just outside of Scranton. Most people know where that's located, in the eastern side of Pennsylvania. And we're going to a place called Camp Freedom, which is a really, really cool spot. I went up and toured Montage Mountain, a ski resort there. And, more than likely, I probably could have made it work. A little small for my taste, but I probably could have had a great event there. But then the next day I went and toured Camp Freedom, and I met Matt Geddes and his crew. And Camp Freedom is a retreat for frontline workers to be able to have opportunities that have disabilities, to be able to come out and build brotherhood and community, and have the opportunity to hunt and work some land. And so it's just a really cool place. They raise their own whitetail, stag, and elk, and then they release them into the wild. So they basically forecast years ahead of the amount of hunts that they plan to give away. And they raise these animals ahead of time and bring them to maturity, and then release them. And they're free to go, free to roam. They have a bunch of property there too. Thousands and thousands and thousands of acres, and with more miles of two-track than you can imagine. And so, it just kind of all fit right into what we wanted to do. And not only that, they already have track action chairs on site. They're building a monster building here shortly to house, to be able to actually facilitate holding up to 500 to 600 people on 10 place setting rounds. Okay. Big building, all fully accessed, wheelchair accessible, the whole 9 yards. And so, seeing where they want to go with their growth and seeing where we want to go with our growth, that venue, it just spoke to me. I went there and I stayed the night there, and I hung out with some of the dudes that just kind of work there. And I hung out with, the owners, and, and just intermingling throughout the day and the evening with all those guys. I knew that was home for Mountain Archery Fest.
Oh, that's awesome. So you go out, and that I guess area sounds really interesting, because you were saying they've got hunts there. They have these two tracks there, which is key. That's another thing that a lot of people don't think about, is getting people out that don't generally have these opportunities. You guys work with, remind me the name of the company that does the awesome wheelchairs with the tracks on them.
So Track Action Mobility Utah, Brock Carter is the owner of that. And obviously we're getting these chairs from a place called Action Track Chair. But, really it's fully facilitated by Brock Carter and Track Action Mobility Utah and Disabled Sportsmen. He's a part of both of those nonprofits.
No, that's awesome. That's awesome. So, again, providing opportunities for people that normally wouldn't have the opportunity to go out and shoot these events. Those chairs are pretty awesome from what, I've seen of them. And again, I love the idea of providing that opportunity for people that want to be able to get out and still participate in these events that normally wouldn't be able to participate in an event like this. So that's really awesome that you guys go through and do that as well. That you work through, or you work with these companies that provide those opportunities. And then, the fact that you go through personally and you walk through these venues, you meet the people there, you get to have a feel of kind of who they are and what they're about. And if it doesn't line up with you, like, no hard feelings, but it doesn't line up. And then when it does line up, it just feels like what you said, feels like home. It just feels like a good spot to hold your event.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it's almost instant. I mean, like I can tell you that I've been to a ski resort, like the total opposite. Okay, let's do a 180. I got bugged to come up to a ski resort in Northern Idaho. I was at an event and then broke off from that event and went to go visit another location. And I won't name who they are because, they don't need any good positive press or negative press at all, in my opinion. So, I went up to this location and sat down with the powers to be. They were like, we're really glad to have you here, et cetera, et cetera. Let's go outside and let's meet, our marketing manager and our on-site manager and this and that. And great. Went outside and met the CEO and their marketing manager and like their mountain manager. And within 5 minutes, the CEO looked at me and said, we're just not so sure about, your kind of riffraff running around this mountain while we've got these other weddings and this other stuff going on here. And I just really looked at this CEO and I was like, just kind of blinked at him and I was like, well, with that having been said, it's nice to meet you. I hope you guys have a great, you guys got a beautiful venue, but with that comment, I'm out. And I literally shook his hand and walked away from the meeting that I had just driven, some 20 hours to get to. And because I won't take that. I won't take that kind of language being talked to me like that. We're not riffraff. And nobody in that wedding is better or is any worse or less or better or less or whatever I'm trying to say there than you or me, Jonathan, or my family. And whether we're in camo or whether we're not, or whether we're carrying bows or whether we're not, or whether we're there for a wedding or we're there with our family to build memories of a lifetime, we're all still there to enjoy this beautiful space that God gave all of us. And who's it for him to begin right out of the gate, not even minutes into my conversation, he was already judging me. And peace out, dude. Now I'm out of here, And so, and then you go to go to any other venue that we're at currently right now. And that conversation is like, we value you. We value you as a human. We value you in your business. We value the registrants and the people you want to bring here. We see you as family. We see you as, someone who's providing something awesome and amazing and fulfilling and rewarding and genuinely life-changing to some people. And we want to be a part of it. And then it's like, we're in, it just, that relationship hits. And, and then from there, obviously from there, money talks. and venues talk. I mean, there's all the other parameters we still have to meet, but there's no need to go
Right.
down any of those rabbit holes if the first words out of your mouth are disrespectful to me and my family and the people whom I represent. So, I mean, it even goes down, you can go even further down the rabbit hole of like, I've been begged to go to California. I ain't going to pay taxes to anybody in California. I ain't giving them any of my money.
Mm-hmm.
None. Like, I don't feel safe there. I don't feel like I need to give them anything that I've worked my ass off for, or anything that you have either. So, it's like, I don't even vacation there anymore. It's like, if I want to go I used to love going to San Diego. Miss it, to be honest. But I'm not going back. I'm not going to go be a part of that.
Yeah.
I can go find a beach somewhere else where I feel my time and my money and my taxes are better served. And so, I mean, it's interesting, I mean, maybe that's my own little high horse I'm on, but that's in a scope of it, Jonathan. Those things are very important to me. And I feel they're very important to the demographic that I'm representing. So that's kind of how I roll in those situations, and how I find new venues. And, there's a lot that goes into those preliminary talks, and you'd have thought I'd have picked up on that whole situation in Northern Idaho way before. But the problem is that the guy that worked there, that was part of the marketing team that wanted me to come there, he was a hunter too. And you should have seen the look on his face when that CEO said that too. He didn't like it none either, but he works there. He's going to take the lashing. Right. And so, and I tell you, dude, I mean, I held my composure, but man, I'll tell you, when I got to the parking lot, I was pissed. I mean, I was losing my cool. Like, I was pretty upset. I wanted to go back in there and give him a piece of my mind and blah, 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 and I was just like, no. That's not how this works. Just go.
Be a little bit more professional.
You put him, and even like I talked to a couple other people, they were like, you did what? You said what? And just shook his hand and walked out. And I was like, yeah. And they're like, oh, dude, you totally you didn't need to say anything else. You didn't need to go back.
Mm-mm.
Like in front of all of his employees, you did that. I was like, oh yeah. And they're like, oh, he got put right where he needed to be. He won't forget that anytime soon. So,
yep.
So yeah, anyway.
Exactly. No, exactly. That's one of those situations where, you don't really have to say a lot, because if you had, you would have fed right into what he was saying.
That's right.
And you took the high road in that situation. You just said, all right, well, it was nice meeting you. You got a great venue. Obviously, I felt like driving up here for it, but it just doesn't line up with our values. And that's awesome. It's good that you weren't in it for, just creating another venue, or you're not in it for necessarily the money or whatever. It's definitely something that you value, you respect. You're building it out that way rather than just straight marketing and getting it as many places as you can. Because I'm sure there's plenty of venues that you could be at. Mm-hmm. It's just not worth the people that you represent and the values that you hold so dear. So that's awesome. That's cool to hear. So we mentioned, we mentioned Georgia, Pennsylvania. I know you've got one up in Wyoming, right?
So we come back out of Pennsylvania, and then we've got a little lull. Typically, we do an event every 2 weeks. But from Pennsylvania, we go to Soldier Hollow, where I met you last year. And and there's 3 weeks in between that. So the crew is going to be able to come back home to Durango, regroup after a push east, kind of recalculate anything we've learned on those two, and get ready. Because, even Soldier Hollow is a little bit different animal. Setting that up requires different machinery. So we'll basically come back, unload some stuff, reload some different machinery to go to Soldier Hollow. And then after Soldier Hollow there, which is just outside of Salt Lake in Heber City, Utah. Then we come back to my hometown, Durango, Colorado, to Purgatory Resort, which we've been at that venue now for this will be our 5th year there. And it'll be our 2nd year at Soldier Hollow. It'll be our 5th year at Purgatory. Then we'll kind of regroup again, because then from there we go to Southern Utah, to Eagle Point, which is also our 5th year venue, and one of our crew's favorite mountains. you know, Purgatory is near and dear to my heart for sure because it's my backyard. I mean, I grew up skiing that mountain, and now, you know, I know that mountain really well when it's white, but now I know it pretty dang good when it's green. And so, you know, it's been really, you know, that was kind of how even the vision of MAF starting was all based around asking Sean at TAC to come to Purgatory. And he was like, no, it's too far away from a metropolitan. It's too far away from a regional airport. It's too far away from a highway. You know, but Purgatory is an amazingly beautiful location. And it just has its own vibe that none of my other, you know, all of our venues have their own vibe, right? But Purgatory is, you know, I'm probably a little bit more prejudiced to it because I love it, you know. But Eagle Point is one of our favorites. Chef Jimmy up there, who runs that event with us. I mean, he's literally the extension of the family. I mean, he's whale watching somewhere, I don't know where, somewhere south and warm, and with his family. And he sent me a text last night that said, thinking about you, man. We always have our family with us. And he's wearing a MAF sweatshirt. And he took a picture of it on this beach and sent it to me. And that's the kind of people who I like working with at these venues, right? I mean, you know, we're friends, we're family. And Chef Jimmy just crushes these events with us. It's an awesome location. So then what's interesting was kind of, you know, Purgatory is really beautiful. It's the Southwest. It's gorgeous. You know, it's just an amazing mountain in itself. You know, in Eagle Point, the whole event is above 10,000 feet. So it's a high event. And I mean, I even have a couple of vendors who would like to be there, but they won't come there because they go above 9,200 feet and they get sick. So they don't come. But it's a venue we sit in the vendor village and we watch mountain goats up on the top of the knoll. It's pretty cool. It's just got a great feel there too. And so then we leave from there, and then we go to Wyoming. And Wyoming's kind of a cool joint because they have no cell service there. And we have one good Wi-Fi to do business on. And then they have another Wi-Fi for the public that pretty much crashes about the time the fifth person jumps on. So that's a venue where you know, there's no amenities up there other than what we bring in. So they have food, we bring in another food truck, we bring in restrooms, we bring in everything we need. But it is on the top of the Bighorn in between Shell and Sheridan, Wyoming. And it is like the Wild Wild West, Jonathan. Like, it's back to, if you want to get away from the world and you want to go somewhere and just ultimately really be with your family and really be with your friends, or be in your own head and shoot bows and hang out with like-minded people and camp like old school bow shooting rendezvous used to be and stuff like that, that's the spot. And awesome. The wildlife up there is absolutely amazing. The amount of moose, the amount of elk that just wander right through Vendor Village is really absolutely cool as could be. I mean, I don't know any other venues where you just like hit the radio and say, send the bull moose through Vendor Village, and it just runs through Vendor Village while everybody's there. You know, it's pretty cool. I mean, even to the point of where we had a pretty good sized bear take a Reinhardt moose target off of the stakes all the way up and off of the rebar and then eat its belly out. So, you know, it's just tons of wildlife up there. It's the Wild Wild West, and it's just beautiful up there. The mountain is really intimate. You get on the chairlifts, and they're old school. They're old school 2-seaters, man. And it's like, going up the lift. Like it takes you 20 minutes to ride to the top, man. It ain't no high speed quad or 6-man chair. You know, you get tired. You're going to want to have to talk with who you're on the chairlift with, because it's going to be a little while before you get up there. And there's no cell service for you to do anything else. So, so it's a cool location. And then we finished our season in just outside of Kalispell, Montana, Blacktail Ski Resort. And that one for me is really quickly becoming my personal favorite. One, I've never been that far up in the heart of Montana, so to speak. Lakeside, that big lake right there next to Kalispell is absolutely amazing and gorgeous. And then, you know, when you're on top of Blacktail, it's kind of a reversed mountain like Eagle, where you shoot down, ride up. Okay. You're not riding up and shooting down. And the views through 3/4 of every course going down, you're literally looking at Lakeside and Glacier National Monument. It is epic.
That's awesome.
It's epic views. And of course, same thing, the crew up there, second generation family running this thing. They helped their parents log it. They helped their parents build the lodge. They helped their parents do everything there. They've taken it over, brothers and sisters, and they're running it. And again, awesome mountain, beautiful lodge, great food, dusty road to get there from the highway for about 15 miles. So it's out there. But you know, that's kind of the thing is I kind of see things a little bit differently than Sean, you know, like I see these hidden gems. Yeah, they're off the beaten path, man. Yeah, they're down a dirt road, you know, but you know what? That's who we are. We're not afraid to get off the road and go hit the dirt road to go find what serves us and what fills our hearts and what drives us to be, you know, who we are. So, you know, again, an awesome location up on top there. Amazing people that work there. And, you know, we're going into our second year there. Last year we added Soho, Wyoming, and Kalispell. We'd had a shoot in Idaho-Montana border for a couple years prior to moving over to Blacktail. But you know, after 1 year at each one of those venues, we turn around and sign 3-year contracts with them. We plan to stay there. So we're growing some roots in those new locations, and I think they'll be the same way with those 2 new ones in the East. And then, you know, I've got, I'm flying to go check out a spot in Michigan. I'm flying to check out a spot in Wisconsin, Connecticut, West Virginia, Florida. That's the next 4 locations I have on my radar to go visit. That doesn't mean that they'll happen. It means that I'm going to go check them out. And there's others I've already been to that I'm already working on for next year. You know, my goal, Jonathan, is to have, you know, shoots all over this country, even more immersed than TAC. I'm not looking for venues where I can have 3,000 or 3,500 people per event. You know, I want to have 1,500 people tops at an event. I want it to have that correct flow and the right atmosphere. You know, I don't want more than 6 people per pin. I want good shooting times. I want people to be able to come and shoot multiple courses per day. You know, not 8 hours or 6 hours or 5 hours per course while you're sitting around waiting for people. And, you know, and so I'm going to keep these, you know, if I got to have more locations, more intimate spaces with less people, that's my goal. You know, I want to reach those communities that are underserved and are in need of what we're here to bring to each individual archer. And that's my goal. And I don't know what that number will be. You know, I have an idea of how I'd split this country up and how I could, you know, divide it into like 5 regions and have regional directors in each one. And each one of them can run 3, 4, 5 shoots in each one. And I don't know. And then maybe I'll take Alaska, Hawaii, and Puerto Rico for mine, you know? I don't know. You know,
That
I mean,
would be awesome.
you know, I got big visions here, man. My vision board's big, you know? And my vision board includes meeting and bringing these venues and these opportunities to as many archers and families and kids as I can, you know. And, you know, to kind of circle back to something you said before is, you know, that when I said we're all inclusive, you know, I really mean that. Like, I will continue to evolve our events and evolve what MAF is, to be certain that we're not excluding anyone from the opportunity of this sport and the access to get to it. You know, I always thought about, you know, kind of circle back to a little bit about Brock Carter, you know, and our track action mobility course. You know, I'd always kind of given some thought to that, you know, because even my first year up in at Eagle, I had Sidney Smith come up and shoot the couple courses, and he was kind of my guest speaker on Saturday night. And, you know, we were trying to raise him. The nonprofit was actually DOUSA, Disabled Outdoorsmen's USA, was actually our nonprofit that we raised money for that year. And that was before the Utah department or division, chapter, whatever you want to call it, started. And so, you know, he came up and shot those courses, Jonathan, and, you know, and he told me, he's like, oh yeah, you know, that one wasn't so bad, but, you know, this one over here, man, that was tough. Like, that was really tough, you know, and this one was really hard, you know. And it was like, I started thinking about, even then in our first year, okay, you know, how do I design a course, at least one on every one of these mountains, that to where, you know, these guys could come and enjoy themselves, challenge themselves. Obviously, shooting was kind of my first thought, you know, give them that space, but yet make it just easier to move around. And, you know, but then again, you know, I was kind of thought in the back of my mind, well, maybe that's not what they want. Maybe they want to be challenged in their mobility too. They don't want it handed to them. You know, I mean, I beat this around for a while, Jonathan, like, how do I approach this? I don't know enough about it. I don't know the mentality. I've never been immersed in it. I just don't, you know what I mean? I'm ignorant to a sense. I need educated, right? On how this works best for these individuals. You know, what do they really want? And I was in my third year, finishing our third year. We were at Park City, and beautiful venue, cool place, super rocky, super treacherous. God, you know, I mean, like, that's a mountain, if I ever went back, it'd have to be like the elite, the best of the best, like an end of the year mountain madness. God, because I mean, every day those courses broke down, Jonathan, it got way bad. I mean, like, even for my crew to break down those courses by the end of 3 days, it was not easy. It was extremely difficult, because when that mountain wears down, it falls apart, and the granite just begins to just crumble, and it got tough. But anyway, I'm sitting in Bender Village down there, and at the base of the lift, and I see this guy in a wheelchair just wheeling at me. I mean, he's just wheeling straight at me, man. It's like every time I'm talking to some people, and every time I kind of glance over, I mean, he's got his eyes locked on me. He's coming. And this gentleman rolled up to me and was like, you ever thought about having a course for people like me? And I looked down and I was like, I don't know. I don't understand. And he just kind of laughed at me like, come on, dude. I mean, like, look at me. Like, I'm in a wheelchair, dude. I got no legs, you know, like, you know, and I just kind of
like, I'm not trying to be awkward here, but
I just, you know, and I knew what he meant, you know. I was just kind of a little bit of my dry humor in a sense. And he said that to me, and I just started laughing, and I kneeled down next to him and I said, yeah, I have thought about it, but I just don't know what to do. I don't know what your needs are. I don't know what you expect. I don't know, you know, how, you know, if you need pandered to, or, you know, like, I just didn't know what to say to him. And he's just like, And he's like, well, I'll tell you what, he says, I got some ideas. And he's like, and the mere fact that you've given it consideration, I think, like, you're my guy. And I said, well, then you're my guy. Right. So you can teach me, you can educate me. You can make me feel comfortable in the space, right? Welcome me into it and let them teach me what I need to know. And so, we spent a couple months talking about what that looked like. And last year when we got to Soldier Hollow, we unveiled our track action mobility course. And, dude, I'll tell you what, man, you want to talk about changing lives, dude. You want to talk about one man's life that was changed immensely. It's me, dude. Like, shoot, some of the stuff I was privy to witnessing and being a part of on that course, and the conversations and watching people who were literally drugged to that mountain against their will to come get in a chair and shoot their bow when they didn't want to. I mean, imagine, those days when you don't want to go to the gym and work out, and times that by 100. There were some of these people that were there, that's the space they were in, sitting in that chair. They didn't want to be there at all. They'd rather be dead than be there. And, and by the end of that course, man, their lives are completely transformed and changed. And, and now they're players back in the community, in the world, making a difference again for their families, and the people around them. And, it's just, it's something that will continue to grow and continue to evolve. And just like every other course that I put up, because that's the challenge, right? That's the challenge here is being able to continue to recreate your event and keep it fun, interesting, challenging, serving to the archer, serving to your customer, right? And just being in that present. And so, I'll tell you that course has really taught me a lot of stuff, and it continues to humble me on a daily basis, even when I'm planning it year after year. The people that come forward, like this year, giving away the chair and a fully guided mule deer hunt and gear to go with it, and choice of weapon and all that stuff that's just kind of, all come together. It's pretty awesome, dude. Pretty awesome.
No, I agree that is amazing. And, being able to include people that genuinely want to get out there, but don't know how. It is something that, it's cool that you were willing to take his feedback and how big of a part he's become of Mountain Archery Fest, because, like you said, you don't know what you need. Like, I've got a buddy of mine that I've talked to, and he, I've invited him out to come here whenever he's in Utah. He can stay with us, etc. He's in a wheelchair, and he was asking me things like the width of my door frames and things like that you don't think about. And I can only imagine, like, on the mountain, you think you get stuck in some of that brush and stuff like that. Imagine having to deal with a wheelchair to get through some of that brush, or some of the chutes. You have to climb down some rocks to get to the target to go pull your arrows. They obviously can't do that. So things like that you just don't, you take for granted, right? And the fact that you were willing to listen to his feedback and make your course for them, I think that's an amazing, and it speaks to who you are, but also who the organization, what the organization's all about. Like, you want to get people out as much as possible to be able to enjoy this sport, this Olympic sport of archery, in the outdoors, and be able to be as active as they possibly can. Obviously, they're not going to go run marathons, people that are in wheelchairs, but they're able to get out and go shoot and enjoy things that they may not have been able to before.
Absolutely. Those track chairs, dude, they're just badass, Jonathan. I mean,
I want one too, just for me.
Dude, they're so much fun. I have so much fun in the one that we take on the road. Because we build a course knowing in the back of our minds capabilities and things, obviously, that we know that they can do and can't do. But then, what's funny is when we built our first course, I mean, it was like manicured. Like, we built it, we weed whacked it. We made it to where it was just pristine. And then, Brock started saying, you don't have to cut every log out. Like, these things will go over 6 o'clock, and I'm like, what? And dude, by the end of the season, the beginning course and the ending course of the season looked completely different, because when we really began to realize the capabilities of these things, and what they can really, really do, you know, we really don't have to move a whole lot of stuff, to be honest. I mean, you know, anything over a 6-inch log, obviously, or, you know, depending on how it's laying or where it's laying, you know, whatever, to some degree. But dude, it'd blow your mind what these things can do. They're rad. You know, and I think they're
like little mini tanks for people that haven't seen them. They really are. They're like mini tanks. And they'll even, I don't know if all the chairs do this, but some of them, like, you strap your legs in and they'll actually stand you up vertical to be able to almost like you're standing. Yeah.
There's a couple different models. I mean, the original design was a sit down, then they came out with the stand up model. And then what we're giving away is the new Axis chair. It's been completely redesigned. And so it's just a straight sit down. I think, you know, I imagine they probably have a stand up in the Axis model, probably somewhere in their CAD drawings or research somehow. But yeah, some of the stand up ones are pretty cool too, because, you know, some of these guys, they have legs, they can stand, so to speak, but they can't walk, right? They have enough skeletal frame still to be able to stand up and be in that position, and they dig it. You know, some of them will come out and use those, and they'll stand up to shoot and then sit down to move. But all those chairs are pretty sweet, because you can fold up either armrest and you can shoot sitting right out of them. I mean, I did it throughout
that's awesome
too, and it's really cool. It's challenging, I'll be honest, like, because you're working within a different subframe, right? You're not on your 2 feet. You don't have the choice of spreading your feet. You don't have the choice of narrowing your feet. You can't, you know, be on an uphill and break one knee and kind of get, you know, where you need to be. And you're kind of at the mercy of this chair, to some degree. And it's pretty cool. But, you know, the biggest feedback that we got with that course was the fact that they could approach every target just like you and me and see where they shot. And if capable, they could pull their own arrow. That was the piece that has been missing for a long time. I mean, a lot of places, you know, even like when I went to Camp Freedom, they got these amazing 2-tracks, and they go with them. They shoot off these 2-tracks, but they don't follow them. They just stay up there in the chair. And I'm like, wow, you know, half the fun is cruising up to the target, talking crap to your buddy, you know, because you hit a 12 ring and they didn't, you know, or getting close enough to the target to be like, oh no, I beat you. I got closer to center, you know, whatever. And so, so that was a cool piece that I learned out of that. But really, ultimately, it comes down to just the access and them just being able to do it. And it's no different than me providing access to you to go shoot the carbon course, right? To go send air mails, you know, because it's cool. You know, not because it's ethical, but because it's fun to watch your arrow fly away a long way, you know, and then sometimes it's fun to watch your arrow make it through a window gap that is literally 3 inches wide, and you just made it through it at 70 yards, you know, like, it's cool. But it teaches you a lot about the dynamics of your equipment and different things. And, you know, we can go down each course, but you know, it's all about that access. It's all about access. It's all about the experience and being able to share it with someone else. Plain and simple, dude. That's all that course is about. The rest of it takes care of itself, you know? So, you know, that's just kind of the overall common theme around here at MAF, right? Is accessibility for any individual to be able to come be a part of what we do. And just give them all the room to grow and grow in themselves, grow in the sport, and give them courses and give them experiences that allow them to build the self-esteem and the character and the knowledge. Because, you know, that's education's another big piece of MAF, you know, between some of the seminars that we have on site, signage on the world record course, or, you know, store. We've changed some things up this year, Jonathan. We don't have the Pope and Young dinner moving forward. Pope and Young is retreated to some degree. The financial budget's not what it used to be. So we're not doing the dinner, but we're doing a thing called Stories and S'mores on Friday night after cornhole. So after we have some great cornhole, some great barbecue, some music, a beer or so, and we can chill out, light some campfires, get the family huddled up around some fires, pull out the s'mores kits, and we can listen to a great speaker. Someone tell us either, some information, knowledge, or story or experience, whether it's successful or strife or whatever. It's almost like, a little bit of a podcast, if you will, at night. It's like, tell us your story, tell us who you are, give us some nuggets, and we've got some great people lined up for each event. Some are well-known, some you've probably never heard of. But that kind of goes back to my old podcasting days when I was doing Wilderness Attitude. It was, I very rarely podcasted with anybody people knew. I was podcasting with people that I just connected with, that just meant something for me. And I figured if it meant something for me, then it meant something for another 10,000 people. Right. And so then I just reach out to some of those people and bring them on. And then what's crazy is that I was always ahead of my time with these people to some degree. Like I would podcast with them early, and then later, now they're killing it. Now they're on the top of the top podcasts. I've got 5 people that I podcasted early days that have now been on Joe Rogan. And so I just kind of see the diamonds in the rough, to some degree. And so I'm excited about that new speaker series deal. That's going to be cool. And then just keep building seminars on Saturday so that people can continue to come in and learn and educate themselves, whether it's gear or whether it's procedure or whether it's both combined, or maybe it's conservation stuff or, anything above, anything that has to do with archery or hunting in the outdoors. If they're willing to come and talk about it and come share their knowledge, I'm down. So if there's anybody out there listening, if there's something, that you feel you want the world to know, not jibber jabber, but, something legitimate that, that would serve some people something, then I'm very interested in that idea.
That's awesome. I love it. And just kind of another brief, as we're wrapping up here, some other things that people may not know about. You have the Pope and Young course, which is pretty sweet. It's replicas of all the records in Pope and Young. And then you've got some other courses too that aren't necessarily, the 12 ring isn't exactly where it's supposed to be. You kind of move it around so that it's not in the exact spot compared to some other 3D shoots. So people that come out and compete, you kind of have even that playing field, because those people might be used to shooting in a certain spot, and now it's not in that spot. Again, there's kids events, there's cornhole. The vendor village is it just feels like walking into a house. It's just or a campground. It's very family oriented. You've got it to where just about anyone from all walks of life, whether you're riffraff or not, you can come in and enjoy it. I love the atmosphere of, the fact that people go in and we're picking up garbage. Like those are the kind of people that you really attract. You're not attracting the quote unquote riffraff. You're attracting people that really enjoy the outdoors, that love shooting their bows, love their families, and love camaraderie, getting out there and just enjoying it. You've got people that are extremely fit, all the way to people that just dusted off their bows to get ready for season, whatever. You've got all walks of life. And I love that about Mountain Archery Fest. So anyone out there that is listening, maybe you wanted to add another event to your schedule this year. Maybe you weren't able to get a ticket to an event that you wanted to go to. Or again, you want to hit as many as possible so you can train for these situations out in the mountain. I would highly recommend that you go check out Mountain Archery Fest. I'm going to be leaving links down below, but where can people find you if they want to get signed up for these events?
Well, www.mountainarcheryfest.com. We're working on our search engine optimization at this point. We've had some issues here in the last couple of months. So if you direct type it, it works out really well. And then obviously you can follow along on Instagram and Facebook. And then, you're welcome to follow me at Brandon Waddell _ on Instagram. It's kind of my own little feed. Beware that I am who I am, and I cuss. I put a lot of stuff up. It's a lot of different things of who I am that make me who I am. And, I appreciate you mentioning some of the stuff. Our Pope and Young course is kind of moving into a new space. It's going to be moving into what we call the world record course. We're still going to have 20 plus or so of the Pope and Young world records, but I'm also going to be adding a few SCI world records and bringing in a few more animals from around the world. Just going to start building that into a pretty cool course. It's just going to be some cool stuff you haven't seen as well, which will be pretty neat. And then we got our exotics course, which is going to be absolutely rad this year, dude. I'm bringing in a bunch of new targets out of South Africa that people have
that's awesome.
seen, and they are really cool. And then, like you were mentioning, that on the comp side, or even most of my mountain, the targets are built by Kirsch Hunting, and they're made in Austria, and they don't bow hunt there, so they just put the rings wherever they want. And so, like you said, it's kind of funny because they're not. I mean, overall, the 8 ring is pretty good, but the 10 and the 12, not so much. So, most of our mountain is all for fun. We do have the Mountain Madness competition on Saturdays. If you're interested in sign up for that, when I get full fields, I'll pay out a full field as 6 people for a field, but when I fill a field really well, like 20 plus, that first place payout could be $500. Second place could be $350, and third could be $200. So, we really throw back everything cash wise out of that registration for that piece back in. And so that's a lot of fun. So yeah, I really look forward to people reaching out and finding out who we are. I appreciate you having me on, dude, so much. And, one thing I can tell you is that, we're here for the long haul. We're here to serve you, the shooter. And, we've got excellent stuff that we do on the mountain. We have great venues, and you won't be disappointed. Come see who we are. And, our retention rate is really high, Jonathan. Once you come shoot a MAF, you'll desire to come back again and again. So,
oh yeah.
I appreciate you having me on, dude. I appreciate everything you do on your platform, man. I love how you break up your podcast for Saturdays and your gear reviews in the week. And, you're extremely valuable to this industry. And I just want you to know that, I just really appreciate the community you're building in RedBeard Outdoors. And, we're kind of connected a little bit through First Phorm, a little bit to some degree. I mean, not that I'm a First Phorm, I'm not an ambassador, I'm not any of those kind of things, but that community is strong and thriving between all of us. And I just want to thank you for your friendship, and thank you for allowing me to be on here, man. Thank you for everything you're doing.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I there's a reason why I had you on the podcast, and there'll be more because we didn't even delve into your own journey when it comes to weight loss and fitness. And you guys definitely go check out Brandon's stuff because he's been on quite a journey himself. We'll have to bring you back on to talk about that. But mainly right now, I wanted to discuss Mountain Archery Fest, what it is, to be able to get it out to the masses. And then for people that want to know, I'm going to be at the 2 Utah events. So if you guys want to come shoot with me, I'm planning on be there most of the days that you guys are there at those 2 events. So if anyone wants to come shoot with me, then that's the place to be. So thanks again, Brandon, for your time. I know you've got lots of stuff going on. You're organizing and reorganizing and flying out here and there and checking out venues, but I appreciate your time and everything that you guys are doing. And for all out listening, again, links are going to be down below. Check them out and get signed up for the Mountain Archery Fest near you. And with that being said, of course, get out, live your life, and love it.